Very excited, though, for our next session to discuss how the HR leaders can have an AI playbook. And to moderate our panel today is Megan Hansen from Ontra AI. Megan, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick. Oh, I was just going to ask if these are working. They are indeed. Lovely. We are super excited to be with y'all today, those online and obviously those in the room. We're going to try and talk a bit about the way AI is impacting the people space across some really different industries and with different perspectives. So I'm super excited to be doing this with the two of you. Before we jump into questions, let's do like a 60-second intro on who you are and kind of what's top of mind for you right now.
Cool.
Yeah. Donald, go first.
I am Donald DeSantis. Oh, am I on? Yes?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, cool. I'm Donald DeSantis. I'm co-founder and chief product officer at Nava. Nava is a technology-enabled benefits brokerage on a mission to make healthcare more affordable and accessible to Americans.
Amazing. And I'm Jaime Kinsella. I'm the director of people at Element Biosciences. We're a startup in San Diego. We make genome sequencers. And I made my way, though, through benefits, specifically at Activision Blizzard. And that's where I cut my teeth, was in the benefits world. So yes, expanded to people, but definitely got my start in benefits.
Awesome. Okay. We're going to be a little bit interactive here at the start, so get your hands ready. Two questions. First question is just getting a better sense for like whether or not your company has any sort of kind of mandate around AI utilization. Raise your hand if yes, just so we know what we're dealing with. Okay. Okay, that was like baby. Like, let's try and, we want to be able to see. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, now, on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being AI what? I don't know what you're talking about. I have an uncle named Al. Is that the same thing? And 5 being we've got it all together. We have a strategy. We've got a governance committee. And we are, leaps and bounds above others. Like, 1 to 5, where would you say your organization is at in the activation of your strategy? That means you have to put your hand, like 1 is we have AI, 5 is like, we're killing it, we're better than most. Yeah, good call, okay.
No,
we're
3.5, yeah.
Perfect, okay, so for you all, talk to us a little bit about what number were you and kind of what does that mean, what's going on in your organizations around broad kind of AI top level strategy. What are the mandates or what you obviously are making them?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I was between a 2 and 3. We don't have a mandate. We don't have a formal policy, but I will say our leadership is very encouraging about employees exploring AI tools and how they can be used day to day. So tools like Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot that we're all more familiar with, and then even tools that are more specific or solve a niche problem related to their department. So that's where we're encouraged, but it's not a requirement.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we started out as encouraged. It was like, hey, everyone, you should use ChatGPT. It's really cool. Here's some of the ways you might use it. And then over the past year or so, as we've shipped more products that are like the intended user is actually inside of Nava, and it's as a place to collaborate with clients, it's moved more into mandate. I don't think anyone gets in trouble if they're not using HQ, but it's part of my job is to how do we make this thing compelling enough and tell that story internally well enough that everyone should be using it. And I do watch the numbers, and we're basically at plus or minus 100% adoption internally on our service team, which has been pretty encouraging. But then there's still just other pockets that's our service team and our sales and shared services, that's maybe 60% of the company, but there's still people operations and finance and marketing and stuff like that too. And I think adoption there probably varies a lot person by person.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I want to go a little bit deeper on where you were just going around the people ops team and people teams holistically. So I'm curious, specifically as it relates to the people team, and Jaime, maybe we start with you. What role has your team played in the adoption journey, and how has that changed over time?
Yeah, I would say that previously with other technological advancements, HR or people teams have been seen as sort of a support function, empowering the initiative, if you will. But given, with IT doing the infrastructure and legal responsible for risk, but given how AI is going to impact how we work and how we collaborate with tools. I'm seeing a lot more, at least with our company, where we're co-leading some of these initiatives and bringing them to our employees holistically.
Donald, how about for you?
The way in which I'm seeing like people, I mean, obviously I'm not on people
Yeah.
operations.
Yeah.
But,
You're exposed to a lot of
I'm
them.
exposed to a lot of it. Yeah, I think it's, the mandate of people operations is like many different things. It's like, it's recruiting, it's sort of like team and it's culture, it's performance management, it's employee benefits. It's like a lot of different things. And, fast forward like a year or two ago, it was, hey, everyone, you should be using it. HR was like, I'm getting told to use this, but pretty much everything that I touch is just like this PII, like,
Yes, we know.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know what the right metaphor is. The thing, like, I can't just take that and just like dump that into ChatGPT. At least I'm pretty sure that I can't.
Right.
And so I think that's probably changing as you just sort of get, we kind of get our arms around this a little bit more. People have more clarity around sort of like, how that data is being used and sort of data rights and whatnot. That's obviously something we knew that if we were ever going to have people operations teams outside of Nava, our clients adopt our tools, that was something we have to take seriously from the beginning. So we built that in from day one. I think that was kind of an advantage where, I'm on a lot of sales calls, and I would jump on a sales call and be like, you can think of this as, HQ is like your HIPAA compliant ChatGPT for benefits. I think where AI is at now, that's probably like an insufficiently descriptive characterization of it. But what I don't know for other parts of what people operations teams use, but when we're onboarding clients now, I'm finally seeing it. I'll put it this way. If I looked at with clients on HQ, engagement, like how much they're interacting with HQ, has doubled just from January. It's like the end of March.
And I would actually say that this is where people teams have an opportunity to build trust with AI in their organization, because not every department touches every single person in the company, right? So if our informatics team is having a great experience with AI because of the niche tools they're using, or, our operations team, nobody else at the company knows that. Whereas the tools that we implement are going to touch everybody. So you really have an opportunity to build trust in these tools if you roll them out and implement them correctly.
Yeah. Building on that, Jaime, specifically for you, when leaders think about AI's impact holistically, and how it's supporting the workforce, what do you think they're thinking about, and like where do you see the role of the people team? And I'll maybe go a little bit further in that. I think building off what you were saying earlier, I think that we're seeing AI go from being a tool to being like a teammate that's a part of the workforce. And that is a part of the reason why our teams as people leaders, like we're being asked to step in a little bit differently. But how are you seeing that play out in your world?
Yeah, I was really thinking about how is this AI transformation different from other technological advancements or transformations in the past. And previously with tools we've launched, it's all about like automating and increasing productivity. That's the sole focus. And with AI, I see a chance for us to not only increase productivity, but to also kind of enable innovation, getting access to data insights we've never had before, and then also improving experiences for employees and our workforce, like removing friction in how they go about their day-to-day. More specifically to benefits, we talked about this a little bit earlier.
I had my note to ask you about that one if you didn't go there, so good job.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I don't know if you guys know the tool Alex, and not to say that that's not a sophisticated tool, but that is giving examples on how to make decisions based on hypothetical scenarios. And where I see an opportunity for something more advanced is it to actually know your situation. So instead of saying, if you do this or if you do that, it says, hey, last year you did do this and you did do that. I think if I asked how many of you guys know your claims data from last year personally, I don't know, at least I can speak for myself, being an expert on the company claims, my personal, I actually have no idea what my family did last year. I just paid the money and forgot about it. So having a tool that would know me and say hey, based on the way you are utilizing your plan, this is the right plan for you going into the next year, depending on if you want to optimize finances or experience. So I think there's a switch from just increasing productivity to enhancing the experience.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, Donald, you've built a platform in Nava that specifically is at the intersection of AI and benefits across the employers that you work with, so all of us. What have you seen HR use to adopt tools faster? And specifically on the employee side, like what do you see engagement actually looking like? You talked a little bit to this, but maybe elaborate further for us.
Yeah, totally. Well, one point of clarification: the team. There's a team that built the tool, and I just sort of cheered them on from the front. But there are kind of a few things. I think we'll start with the employee side. One of the things that we saw we talked a lot about fixed healthcare today. That starts with fixing it for just like individual people navigating the healthcare system. We've always felt that way. And so as a result, one of the first features that we built was the mobile app with a team of expert benefits advocates, folks with like decades and decades of experience on the other side of that messaging interface. But of course, they can only do so much. They get busy. They need to go out on vacation. And so scaling that was like really hard if you just look at the economic model. So we're going to build this AI thing that we think can be a complement, and then kind of like the first door, kind of like the first thing that you interact with as an employee. And you're like, God, are people going to, like, how are they going to react to that? Because you could imagine a world where they're like, I used to always be able to reach a person, and now my first interaction, we make it trivial, like you just press one button to sort of escalate to a person. But the AI always sort of gets the first turn, the first response. What we saw was like engagement just like absolutely just went parabolic. And I think it sort of made sense with the benefit of hindsight, which was people really, really get addicted to like instant gratification. Even though our team is really good, the SLA is like, within 24 hours. Most of the time they're within about 3 or 4, but that's a very different, like 3 or 4 hours versus like 7 seconds, 8 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
And so being like, oh my gosh, I can just start going here. The other thing too is like, even though I'm like, hey, I've got this empathetic expert person on the other side of this who doesn't expect me to be an expert, people still feel like, I don't want to ask another question because I kind of feel dumb, right? Or I don't want to bother this person if it's like their job. And that's like all they want to do is help me. And so I think the combination of like the instant gratification plus I'm not worried about feeling dumb anymore. Just people were like, oh my gosh, the number of questions just absolutely went nuts. And so we saw that. I mean, there are many things that we saw on the employee side. That was one of the big ones. I think, on the HR side, it's honestly, we've got a bunch of like really sort of interesting things planned, but if I was going to like try to boil it down, I think it's that same thing, but for the HR professional, where it's like, hey, one of my employees is moving to San Francisco and they're wondering how it affects their upcoming parental leave, and to be able to get an answer that's like, I don't know what any of this means. You need to tell me what these acronyms are. How does this law work? How much time do I have? And so I think what we're seeing there, like a big part of that takeoff is the ability for them to not bug someone, like instant gratification. I'm not bug someone. I don't worry about feeling dumb. I'm supposed to be the expert in this too. Like I'm in HR or in benefits.
Yeah.
So, I think there's a lot more exciting stuff that's coming, but if just most simply, I think it's just that pattern.
Yeah. It's interesting as you say that. One of the things that I think about that I think is also really beneficial is that you can engage when you are in a headspace to do so. And it might not be, it might be in the middle of the night when you wake up with the question and you can't go back to sleep. And you wouldn't necessarily get a human at that point in time. Or like even earlier today, I was doing some work with Claude, and I got derailed and had to go do something else, and then I went back and was able to pick it right back up. Whereas when you're in like a chat box, you're talking to a human, like you're not going to go pick it back up. Like you got logged out, or that person hung up on you. Like, so I think it does fit into the patterns of working that have become so much more of the way that we are kind of existing today, and that part has a huge advantage. It's also
so funny you're saying that, because literally I was thinking the same thing. I was like, all of my questions for AI are always in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
I'm always like, I got to figure this out right now. So it's perfect timing to have.
Yeah, it's like the 3 a.m.
interaction.
Yeah. Like you can go get your answers. 100%. I also think it's interesting to circle back on one of the things you were talking about earlier. The company that I work for is in the legal tech space, and so it's also very regulated. Benefits is a very regulated space, and there has been a pretty significant shift that I know we've seen within our business around people's comfort with utilizing tools and technology in a way that they weren't comfortable with a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm curious if you're seeing sort of that same adoption also playing out from an organizational perspective of folks, both the humans themselves, the individuals, but also like the HR teams and companies holistically in a regulated space, starting to feel more comfortable with asking those questions that historically maybe you were afraid to because of HIPAA or because of PII or any of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I think sort of like yes is the short answer, and there are two barriers there that are very different in terms of what it looks like to clear them. The first is, I mean, how often wasn't there just this big thing about the biggest legal firm in the world or something just got sued by their client because they, again, it's like every year some boneheaded lawyer like submits some
that was not us.
thing. No, I know. But you know, like the last thing you want to do is like hallucinate some compliance thing or
100%.
Hallucinate how one of your benefits plans works or a leave policy or something like that. And so there are many sort of like technology approaches you can take to for the most part, you have to asterisk everything, but for the most part, like you can make that risk go basically to zero, basically to zero. And so we've done a lot of that. So that's one thing. That is we've got a technology problem with a technology solution where the tools for solving that problem are getting better and better, and we're implementing them more and more thoroughly every single day. That builds trust. So one part of it is just like, can I trust this? Then the other part is just like, software sucks. Like we switched our recruiting, our ATS a little while ago. I won't say from whom to whom. I think it was actually the right choice, but I remember when I got the login one day, I was like, what is this thing? I hate it. I hate any change. I build software for a living, and I hate changing to any new piece of software. And so there's like this, if there's some expert tool that I can use, and even if I can trust it, just how to use this thing, how to drive this piece of software. And I think the interesting thing about AI is if you look at ChatGPT, it was the most rapidly adopted piece of software in like the history of any software ever. And I think it was because everybody knows how to use their thumbs and do this. And you didn't need an instruction manual for how to do it. And so one of the things that we think about a lot is it's just like, how do you sort of like leverage that form factor to lower the barriers to adopting stuff like this without making the thing sort of like just completely chat, because I don't think people want that either.
Agreed.
And that's sort of a different, so those are the two hurdles. It's like, can I make it trustworthy, and what's the right user experience?
Yep, I love that, thank you. I'm looking at the time, and I know we promised that we would get to some like takeaways, action items, things that people could potentially implement. So Jaime, I'm going to jump over to you. What are a couple tools or things that you are using, your team's using, kind of people within your org are using that have really changed the game? And tell us a little bit about them so that we can learn from you.
We have tried to be really, I mean, we're a startup, so we're trying to manage, the cash we spend, and we've tried to be really intentional with what tools we have looked to kind of implement. And because also we're a startup, we have a really lean team. We don't have a people analytics team. We don't have a lot of business partners. So we specifically looked at those two areas, and we implemented two tools called Presidio and Noetic. And Presidio is kind of our people analyst. It syncs to our HRIS data and allows us, like an agent, to ask questions about our data. So what previously would be me downloading a spreadsheet, manipulating it, filtering it to get some answers, I can ask this tool and it reads our data. But what has been really transformational about it is it's been able to audit our data to keep it clean. So a really quick example is, as long as we give it the logic, if I say anyone on a commercial plan should always be on a commission, or a commercial team should always be on a commission plan, tell me if they're on a bonus plan, it will surface that to us. And we've done this with over 22 logic statements at this point to keep our data clean. So instead of me finding that when we're paying out a bonus and I'm like, oopsie, we're paying out a bonus to someone on a commission plan, or finding it at that point, we're able to get this proactively and utilize it up front. And then the second tool, because we don't have a large business partner team, is Noetic. And this is a tool, I think it's also called like the second brain of the CPO. It's really beautiful to utilize, but it imports data from our performance management tool. It mines that data and then surfaces themes and patterns and trends that would take a person. I mean, I actually think it would be almost impossible to do, and it would certainly be impossible to do without bias. So what's nice is we have a tool applying the same kind of mining to every person. And so when I walk into a conversation with a leader about their team or an employee, I have the opportunities, I have the strengths, I have the gaps, and we're starting from a place of insights as opposed to like raw data and 30 pages of slides for people to read through. So those are the two that we've implemented that are specific to HR that we've found to be very, actually like has allowed our team to adopt it in a way that we're like, we can't live without this.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully we could, but
You don't want to?
we don't want to. Yeah.
Yeah. Heard.
Exactly.
Okay, Donald, what's something you're most excited about as you think about integrating AI more deeply into HR workflows?
I think the big thing is, well, I'm going to pretty squarely think about this through the lens of benefits. I think actually a big part of it is just mapping the workflows. We said there are like 5 or 6 kind of broad categories of things that HR does. You take benefits, like inside of benefits, over the course of a calendar year, like if you really just wrote down all of the tasks that need to get done,
Oh my
like
God.
100, 200 tasks that need to get done, like easily probably. And so I'm just really excited to just like, let's inventory all of those and then let's start assigning agents across them to help out. Because I think when you do that, you're going to be able to just provide a lot more leverage to the team. It's going to be like one of two things. We're going to be able to, just like dramatically improve the number of things that we do.
Yep.
Like we'll be just to do more stuff for folks. And I think it also means too that we'll be able to take some of our best practices. There are always pockets of expertise and experience. Somebody's more experienced in compliance. Someone's more experienced in like funding strategies. Somebody's more experienced in employee comms. And like, how do you take all of those minds and sort of bring them together to kind of like raise the floor across the entire organization in a way that would have, I'll say impossible, probably would be impossible to do otherwise.
Yeah, it feels like there's kind of two things that y'all are touching on, right? There's this like opportunity spotting of jobs to be done. Like what are things that are already happening? And then how do we make sure that we're looking at those workflows and applying AI strategies, either like with, tools that we have or new ones that we're bringing in-house. And then I think we were talking about earlier as well, the fact that AI also creates this proactive unlock of things that you didn't even know you could do before or you weren't even thinking about. So there's both automating or finding better ways to do the things you're already doing, and then there's also this unlock of what can you bring to the org that maybe you
never could.
It felt like it was impossible before, and it's really exciting to see where we can go with that kind of as a larger function. Okay. I am going to pick and choose here because we're coming up on time. We love to talk, and we had a good time. All right, I'm going to ask both of y'all this one. What is the biggest lesson learned or failure that you would love people to walk away knowing so that they can avoid it? Related to your AI journey, obviously. You could give us a rando failure, but I think we're probably trying to stay on theme.
In 1994, no.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say, one, get legal involved early, especially with some of this information. But if I'm really thinking about it, it's about being intentional. So I think for me, the biggest fear whenever we roll something out is that I don't want to roll something out to get people to like AI or to get them on board. I want it to provide real value so that it's organically valuable to them. They actually see the purpose in it. So my number one sort of focus is to be intentional. Start with the problem. What are you actually trying to solve? And then find that niche solution that utilizes AI to provide that solution, as opposed to like rolling out the tool that's exciting and fun and then seeing where can we apply it. Because for me, the biggest thing is I want people to utilize it in a way that feels organic and valuable to them, and not just like a cool toy that we want to sell to them.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's no, it's a good question. I'm sort of struggling, which is to think of like a real failure. One thing I will say on the failure side of things, I mean, if we can go back to 1994, I've got plenty of failures. But in sort of more recent history here, we're very leaned forward on this stuff, and so we're actually. I'm going to say something that sounds very oh my gosh, we got clients in the room. Are you serious? We're very failure tolerant. And so what does that mean? Let me put that into context. We're very failure tolerant as we try to stay on the bleeding edge of what's possible here. But failure tolerance in a way that is really, really sort of narrowly scoped to someone on our service team and a client who have opted into that, said, I am willing to be your crash test dummy here. I am willing to be the lab rat. And that allows us to, I think, stick our chin out a little bit and take a couple of hits in a way where everybody was sort of signed up for it and opted into it. And I think as a result, that has really sort of helped us, helped prevent any sort of big, broader failures. And so knock on wood or whatever, because everyone is but because I don't want to invite or tempt fate. But yeah, so far I think by embracing failure, we've managed to sort of avoid any by embracing small failures, we've managed to avoid any big failures.
It's a really strong lesson learned in there, and a life lesson we probably need to put on a shirt for all of us. But I do. We see a lot of similar things in our org of when people are coming to you knowing that you are on the cutting edge and knowing that it's almost like we want you to actually be there with us. We want to be there, but we want you to be there with us. And we're signed up for that, and we know. Therefore, we can have little hiccups along the way because we knew we were signing up for. In a way that probably folks wouldn't have the same comfort with if you weren't Nava, if you weren't, already presented as an org that's in that position. So I love that call out. I don't know what happened. We got more time, so yay. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Looks like y'all are so good. We're giving you 5 more minutes. Okay, we're going to use that wisely. We're going to get in our little time machine, right? So much has changed, honestly, since, February. But I'm going to ask you to think 5 years ahead down the road. Where do you think we're going? I mean, specifically, I think in the benefits space, if you have some thoughts on that, but also maybe more holistically at some of the other levels that we've talked about. So we can talk about benefits, we can talk about kind of the HR people space holistically, or even kind of more broadly, if that's where your head goes.
If I'm to think about the people space, I hope what changes is that we get a lot more personalization with the tools that we use so that it's very specific. There's not a lot of guessing. That's my hope with this sort of technology. And then on the flip side of that, the other hope is that we still maintain some version of human, or the same amount of human connection and human trust and judgment in these processes, because it is such a personal, the people team and specifically benefits are dealing with really personal situations that require compassion. And that's something that I don't know how great technology is. I don't know that that can serve that purpose, but I hope that the technology steps in to provide personalized information, personalized medicine, personalized everything that we can think of so that we can, make the most of our specific situations with the least amount of trouble.
Yeah.
Plus one, I think especially on the member or employee side, more personalization for sure, which I think is just going to unlock, it's going to unlock better financial and better health outcomes. I think on the HR side, if I was to really think 5 years in the future, what does success look like? It'd be a bunch of folks like this in the room going, remember when that used to be hard?
I love
and I think there's a gazillion things that are going to have to come in together to make that true. I could probably start listing those off, but I think that's what it looks like. It's remember when that used to be hard? Remember when we used to be stressed about that?
Yeah, it's such a great call out. I am looking forward to that.
Me too.
That will be really great. Okay. Do I have time to ask if anyone? Okay. Anyone have any questions before we wrap? Anything from the room? Oh. You can speak loudly and then I can repeat it too.
The organization.
Oh.
Like,
Oh, there
how
we go.
have you guys?
And conveniently, you were wearing a mic, so check that out. Okay.
How have you and your organization sort of thought about communicating, over communicating to the organization about what good looks like when it comes to AI usage? How should we do it? Like, what's been your strategy? What's worked? What advice would you have for folks in this audience?
Yeah, it's definitely in all of our conversations. I think, our leadership is very vocal about their own use of AI and what is smart utilization of it versus what we're definitely pro technology. I mean, we make technology. We have our own machine learning team that's putting that's actually, I can't describe what they're doing because it's so advanced. But I would say, right now we're truly in a place of exploration. And what our leadership has definitely messaged to the organization is to find those opportunities, to look for those opportunities and be open to them. So I think right now our communication philosophy is about letting people feel confident and comfortable and open in utilizing that. But of course, we do have those legal kind of, not waivers, I would say, but remember, we have a lot of secure data and things like that. So look for that as well and come to us if you find a tool that makes sense for the organization. I don't know if that specifically answered your question, but yeah.
Yeah, we're good. Love it. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to call it a wrap. I want to just maybe close out with one of the nuggets that you touched on earlier, Jaime, which is around judgment, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a key takeaway, hopefully, that y'all are walking away with here is that AI isn't replacing the judgment that any of us are bringing, but it's really raising kind of the floor on, where we are inserting ourselves, and it's creating more of, it's like destroying the ceiling. There's just more opportunity for us to go further, which is a really exciting place to be. So thank you both for joining the conversation. It was a pleasure to hang with you for the last half hour or so. And thank you all for joining and for being such active participants. And I'll hand it back over to you, Rick.